I gotta get that door fixed. Oh, hello, I'm Lee Ames. I see you found your way into my Best of Draw 50 interactive drawing studio. I just came in to work on another drawing, if I can find it. You know, I've been an artist, an illustrator, and a cartoonist for over 50 years, and I still need practice. I also need a better filing system. Well, never mind. You're here to draw. All you need to get started is your own blank paper, a sharp pencil, an eraser, and lots of imagination. Absolutely no one without imagination will be allowed in my studio because a lot of fun things happen in here. And the Draw 50 way of drawing is meant to be fun. Now, all you have to do is to do as I do. I will show you how to draw stroke by stroke. That way, you'll learn to draw by actually drawing. So, take your time, stop me at any point, go back to the last stroke if you want. It can take me as much as an hour to finish one of my own drawings. And I have been drawing these for a long time. Ooh, not that long. There are 50 drawings to choose from. The ones shown in green are easy. The ones shown in blue are a little more challenging. And those shown in red are downright tough. But I'm sure you can always find something to have fun with. Now, if you've never drawn with me before, make sure you listen to my drawing tips first. This will give you important information about drawing the Draw 50 way. And that will tell you how to use this CD. But enough of that. I feel a drawing coming on. All right, now you pick a drawing. I'll just stand back here and watch. You're confronted with a blank space, the tremendous challenge of nothingness. There's no way out. It's just blank. Well, don't worry. That's what Draw 50 is all about. I'll give you the subject to draw. All you have to do is follow along step by step on your own paper. But there are a few things to keep in mind. Before you start, I'll always show you the finished drawing. Always check the finished drawing to see how the stroke you're working on fits into the whole drawing. It'll help you understand what I'm having you draw and why, and you'll learn to anticipate what's coming next. Guidelines are shown as light lines. You need these lines to form the drawing, but at the end, you'll erase them. The lines you'll keep are drawn in black. Anytime you want to see the finished sketch, just select the Seeing Eye drawing. I left that on the drawing table just to remind you to visualize what you're drawing. The next thing to remember is that your drawing should take up your full page. And don't forget to turn your paper so the drawing fits best. If there are 3 words that sum up how to handle your pencil, they are lightly, lightly, lightly. If there are 3 more words, they are lightly, well, okay, you get the idea. Why make light, short strokes? Because you can correct yourself as you go along. You're not trying to draw it perfectly all at once. You need to sketch it. Go back over your lines to really form the drawing. And don't worry if your paper looks messy. That's the whole idea of sketching very lightly. Don't be afraid to erase. Stop the lesson at any time and work on a line. Now, I recommend you use a kneaded eraser for this purpose. You can find one at any art supply store. Try and think of the subject as 3-dimensional. If we start with an oval or a square for a head, keep in mind that it's not flat. It has a front and a back. If you keep this in mind, you'll be better able to build up all the strokes to form the finished drawing. For each drawing, I'll take you through each step of the drawing, right up to the last step. At this point, go back over your best lines and erase any unwanted or unneeded strokes. you'll have most of the drawing finished. You can now draw these lines with strength because everything is in place. Now I'll show you the finished drawing again. It's up to you to study it and work on these finishing touches. This last step is very, very important. This is where you turn your sketch into a finished drawing. Notice all the fine details, the use of shading, the way I vary the thickness of the lines. Learn to look at the subject, my finished drawing, and draw from that. After working on these drawings for a while, you might want to try changing them a little. You can change the pose of a dinosaur or draw an airplane at a different angle. But don't get frustrated if it doesn't work out. That is a giant step to take. And look around you. There's a million things to draw right at your own fingertips. That blank piece of paper isn't so frightening after all. It's just a beginning. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the studio, not a student was drawing or sketching, you know. When down through the chimney came jolly Saint Nick. But he'll be off in a twinkle, so you'd better sketch him quick. You're confronted with a blank. His head sits on his shoulders like a cherry atop a fine, fat Christmas pudding. Now, draw a guideline down the center of his head, and one down the center of his big round belly. His sack of toys is bursting with presents. I hope there are a few for me. Now, draw his two stout legs. He's in fine shape for a man his age. And put his famous crimson cap on top of his old head. Now draw a series of guidelines across his face, at the eyebrows, at the eyes, at the nose, and at the lips. His left arm reaches up as he waves hello. Merry Christmas! And his right arm supports the weight of that immense sack of presents. I know there must be a few packages in there for my grandkids, Mark and Hillary and Lauren, the queen of the earth. Now draw his belt, which sits high above his belly. Add the trim of his coat in a wide, furry band. His boots are thick and heavy with large wide cuffs. But he never seems to get sooty sliding down chimneys. I wonder how he does that. And his sack is always full, no matter how much he gives away. What do you suppose he's bringing me this year? That beard is as white as North Pole snow. And a lock of that same white hair hangs over his kindly old face. Now draw the cuffs on each of his sleeves and his bright red mittens. Put a shiny brass buckle on his black belt. Now finish off those boots. They're as black as coal. I still don't understand how he can get into my living room without making tracks. Just add a few more presents bulging from that bag. They may be for you. Well, maybe one anyway. And draw the end of the bag slung over his shoulder. Add his thumb to his left hand. A few curls to his snowy beard. Now draw a mustache under that button nose. And of course, don't forget to put a twinkle in his eye. The horse's face is long and narrow, so distinct, in fact, it's not likely to be mistaken for any other animal. Of course, every now and again you run into a person that could be mistaken for a horse, but that's another story. With this drawing, you'll need to start in the lower right of the page. Up from that oval, draw the long, flat forehead. Leave room for the ears. Down from that first oval, draw the upper lip. Now, draw the neck, starting from the pole, which is at the top of the head. Use this ellipse or oval to draw the eye. And these lines show the bone structure of the forehead and cheek. I know this crown looks silly, but it'll help you draw the ears. Now, draw the large, typically equine cheek. And these three lines form the throat. The eyes are large, of course. And so are the nostrils, drawn like a numeral 6. Next, draw the upright, tapered ears. Now you see why I had you draw that crown. Add some detail around the corner of the eye. And to the top of the forehead. Sketch in the upper lip and the jawline. Now, draw the inside of the ears. And sketch the forelock and mane. Finally, work on this detail around the eye. Neck and nose. To finish up, draw the rubbery lower lip. Some shading brings out the blaze or white patch that runs down the length of the nose. Now, there you have the face of a horse, of course. No mistake about it. Some people say the horse is very, very smart. Some people say the horse is really just a big dumb animal. But the horse has people to feed it and clean up after it and take care of it and make a fuss over it. So how dumb do you think that is? This drawing of a horse grazing will take up most of your page from side to side. Start by drawing two ovals near the top of the page. The right oval is slightly larger and slightly higher than the left oval. By adding two lines to the back and one to the belly, you have the body of a grazing horse. Now, add the long, thick neck as it reaches down to the grass. Use these two ovals to form the forelegs. And these lines form a hind leg. And draw the rump. Now, add this line at the flank. Now work on the head. First, draw the two large cheeks. Add two lines to make the lower jaw. Now, draw the top of the long, flat face. Next, draw all four lower legs. You'll have a pretty fine-looking horse by adding an ear, a large bulging eye, a nostril, the mouth, and the throat. Now, draw the shoulder and the chest. Form the knees by drawing squares. And draw the fetlocks, the narrow part of the foot, and hooves by drawing two pairs of lines under each leg. Now, simply finish each hoof. Round the top slightly and add a vertical line to show the back of the hoof. Next, work on the mouth and cheek. And add some detail to the musculature of the haunches. Finish the hind legs by completing the thick part, the hock, of the background leg. And for the tail end of this drawing, you need a tail. Add a little grass and work on modeling or shaping the horse. There, you have an idyllic picture. Now, if we sneak up very quietly, maybe we can hop aboard. And we can ride off to another drawing. You can judge the age of a horse by looking at its teeth, if it'll let you, of course. And that's where we get the expression straight from the horse's mouth, meaning the indisputable truth. Honest, really. I got that straight from, well, you know where. Closer to the top of the page than the bottom, draw these two crescents, the lower one at the horse's eye level and the top one at the top of the head. Now, draw the concave sides of the horse's head. Follow that by drawing this arc from side to side. To form the long, flat nose, use these two lines. You'll fill in the eyes later, just below these two F shapes. And this, of course, is the nose. Now, these three lines form a crown, but I'm not horsing around. It's only the guideline for drawing the ears and forelock. Next, draw the sides of the face joining the eyes to the nose. Now, add the neck. And if you have any horse sense, you can see where we're going from here. Each ear is a pair of lines like this. The eyes are protruding, so round them off below the guideline. The nose flares out. That leads to the rounded, fleshy nostrils and upper lip. Next, draw the lower lip and the angular jawline. Follow that by drawing this V for the chest. Sketch in the forelock. The mane, and the muscles running the length of the neck. A sizable pair of nostrils finishes the nose. And this portrait is also complete. It just requires some highlighting and shading to bring out the details. With a little work, that portrait would be so lifelike you could almost tell the horse's age. Dentures? When Perseus slew Medusa, the dreaded Gorgon, he cut off her head, and from her neck sprang the great winged horse Pegasus, a symbol of artistic inspiration. This horse lacks wings, but it may inspire you to draw something wonderful anyway. Place this oval near the top of the page, but leave enough room to draw the horse's neck and head. Now, draw the horse's back and belly. Draw a line at the flank or hips. Now draw the arching neck of the rearing horse. And this crescent creates the cheek. You can see just from these flowing lines why artists have always loved to draw horses. Now draw the hocks or upper legs. And the muscular thighs above the hocks. Next, sketch the forearm down to the knees. This forearm should be long and slender. Now draw the narrow equine face. The horse has a thick, strong neck. This line shows how muscular that neck is. Next, extend the hind legs. Use 3 simple straight lines. Draw the other forearm. And now draw the pasterns, or lower legs. You can turn this head into a real horse by adding the pointed ears, the protruding eyes, the large nostrils, the mouth, and the lower jaw. Finish drawing the hind legs, including the fetlocks, the narrowing just above the hoof. Notice how the hind legs angle forward as the horse balances on them? Add a beautiful, full-flowing tail. These lines show the muscles in the flanks of the horse as it rears. Now, draw the front fetlocks and the oval-shaped bottoms of the hooves. Next, angle off the knees. Last but not least, draw a billowing mane. and a long forelock. I hope this horse inspires you to let your imagination take flight. Maybe you'll even do another drawing with me. There are few subjects that artists have drawn more, painted more, or sculpted more than the horse. Perhaps only the human figure. This is a classic pose of a magnificent Arabian. Now you can add your own touch to this classic subject. Left of center, draw a large oval to form the horse's chest and shoulders. Draw a partial oval, flattened on one side, the same distance right of center. Connect the two to make the horse's back and belly. Split the first oval like this to form the horse's chest. You can now judge where to draw the long, tapering neck. Create the large cheek with this partial oval. Now close off the top of the haunches, called the croup. You can already see why this noble stance has always attracted artists. Add these guidelines to help in drawing the face. Now, start with the forelegs. Next, draw the buttock. Using that line, draw the hind legs. For the forelegs, draw the pastern, the part of the leg between. Also, draw the pasterns on the hind legs. And sketch the angle to the hocks or upper legs. Next, draw the ears. Good. The forehead. The long face down to the nose. And the mouth. The classic form is almost complete. When you've finished with the legs, draw the fetlocks and hooves. The fetlocks are those narrow portions above the hooves. Make a few long lines for the tail. Complete the angle of the shoulder and sketch the mane. Add a cheekbone just below the eye. A forelock. And the mouth. There, an Arabian, renowned for its form, intelligence, speed, and spirit. A classic. A nasal nerd is a special kind of nerd, though not one you'd want to get to know. They're full of mean spirits, clogged with envy, running with gossip about everyone, even you and your friends. A nasal nerd looks down his nose at the rest of the world. This is Dunstan, a real drip. Start with an oval the size of a quarter near the top of your page, slightly right of center. This eye's never offered a kind glance to anyone. When you finish drawing these lines for Dunstan's head, nose, and throat, you'll see something that looks like a vulture, and that's not far from the truth. Now, add Dunstan's other beady eye. And his proboscis. He uses this to sniff at those he thinks are beneath him, meaning everyone. That brow never unfurls. That nostril never stops sniffing. That ear is large and specially attuned for eavesdropping. Ah, Dunstan, such a handsome lad. Let's fill in some of his more comely details, such as eyelids, the cheek, the nostril, the lips, and the ear. Yep, that is our nasal nerd. Now, a few more details around the eye. And around his ear. Draw his scrawny shoulders. What are those antennae for? Oh, to zero in on more gossip, do you think? Well, looking into Dunstan's eyes is not a pleasant experience. And those bags, staying up late causing more trouble, Dunstan? Let's finish his upper lip. Start to draw Dunstan's tongue. It's aimed at everyone. Three chins? That would be Dunstan. Now, let's finish this antenna. You know, Dunstan is as wrinkled as an elephant, and he never forgets an unkind word. Only a few more strokes now. The tip of the tongue takes two. The cravat, two more. Now you can flesh out the rest if you like. As for me, I've had enough of Dunstan Drip and all his nasally nerd-like friends. And should any of them begin to say anything bad about you, I'll just thumb my nose at them. You know, I started to do a whole book of witches, draw 50 witches, good ones and bad ones, and, well, even some in between ones. I found all sorts of models, including this one, a very ugly and sometimes wicked witch by the name of Winsome Warthead. Now, this is she. I never did finish Draw 50 Witches because, to tell you the truth, when you've seen 50 of them, it's hard to tell which witch is which. But I occasionally draw Winsome just to keep in practice. So if you want to see how, just say so. Right in the middle of the page, draw her head like this. Oh, say about the size of the bottom of a soft drink can. Now, leave as much room above her head as you do below. Now, her stooped back. Draw the line almost to the bottom of the page. Next, draw the brim of her hat across her forehead. From there, draw the front and back, but leave enough room to add the peak. Add a guideline for drawing her face and the front of her body. Oh, and her very crooked broomstick. Why the broomstick? Well, image is everything these days, you know. Finish her hat. It's easy to top off the broomstick, it's just an X. You need some guidelines before you draw her face, though. Gives me shivers just thinking about that face. Oh, an unusual shade of green it is. The first guideline is used for her eyebrow. The second guideline is used for her mouth. And the third guideline is used for her chin. Now, her left sleeve. Notice how big it should be. Her right sleeve's a little harder, so draw some guidelines to help you out. 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. The next 4 strokes finish off the outline of her gown. Just about like that. See the crooked peak at the top of her hat? And the top. middle, and the bottom of her broomstick. And don't forget to begin sketching the inside of the broomstick. Very important. Loop the brim of her hat around. Now, don't get frightened here, but it's time to draw that face. Is this the face that sank 1,000 ships? Oh, I get chills every time I get to this part. Use your guidelines to draw that nose like a kosher dill, pickle that is. It fits right between the eyebrow guideline and the mouth guideline. Now, add a cheekbone and finish off that sharp chin. Draw her left wrist and hand, making sure her hand goes past the broomstick. Make a bend in her right arm by adding a line at her elbow. Now, the end of her right sleeve and the back of her right hand. Sketch in the back and front of her slippers. Speaking of slippers, have you seen Rashid the Rotten? You know, come to think of it, they'd make an interesting couple. You can use this line down the length of her hat to fill in shading later. Oops! Forgot to finish off the middle of the broomstick. Now, put in her hair. What little she has. Let's add some detail to her face, including her eyes. An amazing shade of orange they are. Ugh. Add a guideline at the top of her chest. Use this to shade below later. And finish up her broomstick. Her right sleeve is easy to finish. It's big enough to hold eye of newt, bat's wings, and toad toes, or whatever else she keeps up her sleeve. Now, draw those crooked digits of hers. And complete her gown. You can finish up the rest of her if you have the stomach for it. Now, don't fret if you don't get her ugly enough the first time through. After all, you win some and you lose some. A silliwash is an ugly thing. Science has few explanations for it. Is it a plant or is it an animal? Well, some think it's related to the red-crested nuggler. Some say the bivalve Blurini is closer kin. Others say it's in a class by itself. Well, whatever it is, you can always tell when it's around. It makes a telltale sound with its suction cup feet. Sound funny? It is. It's not hard to draw a silliwash because, as far as modern science can tell, no two look alike. Still, you can always start with a cross at the top of your page. A silliwash body is a bulbous thing. And its head is triangular. Or is that its bottom? Oh, anyway, the eyelids are droopy, especially in the young. The 5 arms are rather gangly, especially in the old. The 3 legs of a silliwash are sometimes short and sometimes long, often in the same individual. The silliwashers I've seen, and I've seen but a few, all had bags under their eyes. I suppose this means they're chronic insomniacs, and come to think of it, you only hear that at night. The nose is a snout. They sniff a lot. Or do they sniffle? Sniff, sniff. What a racket! Apparently their hearing is so poor it doesn't matter to them. These 2 ears must be nearly useless. The arms are very thin, tapering to a strange-looking extremity. But the legs are somewhat thick, to support those infernal suction cups, I suppose. The eyes are very small and very yellow. Let's see. Hold up your paper. Yes, that looks quite like a silliwash, although it's not a bad likeness of a variegated Verini either. Now, it's easy to finish up the cheeks. the nose. And the ears. The mouth is something else altogether. Kind of like your belly button, only cleaner. Now give those shoulders a really rounded hump. And give that chest a really deep crease. Finish up those ankles. Does a Sillawarsh have bones? Another unsolved mystery of modern zoology. Now round off the top of that. Well, you know what I mean. Here's a few strokes to lend scientific accuracy to the head. The eyes. The ears. And the mouth. What do they eat? Well, no one knows, and frankly, few have cared to find out. Now, draw these strange appendages, which look like roots. Not that the Sillawarsh stays in one place for long. Which reminds us to complete those infernal feet. Now you can finish your drawing of a Sillawarsh. Should you ever see one, you can compare it and see how well you've done. But take my advice, should you ever hear one, just run the other way.